Hey everybody, it's Gil here with the sailing vessel DreamChaser, and as you know, we've been looking for little projects that we can do for the boat in anticipation of sailing it over here. The belaying pin rack and the bilge pumps and things like that. Well, today I have one that's not quite boat related, but it's interesting because it was born from the boat. It's all about water conservation, and when you live on a boat, you think a lot about your water consumption, how much you use. So here at the house, we've moved back into a house for the first time in 8 years. For those of you that are new to our channel, this video channel is usually about my wife and I and our extensive refit on our 51-foot classic liveaboard sailboat. We have lived aboard and cruised in our sailboat for the last 8 years, and in August we moved back to terra firma. We still intend to do some sailing, but you know, life sort of happens. While we enjoyed the boat life, it was a bit much. So it was tough to balance homeschooling, schooling, sailing, my work because I still work. But anyway, coming out of that was a lot of thought about how do you conserve water. And when we're at a marina, not an issue, right? You fill the tanks every 4 days if you want to. But when you're anchored out, when you're traveling, you think a lot about how you can reduce the amount of water you take when you take a shower. For example, you've heard the old adage, a Navy shower, which is when you turn on the water, you get yourself wet, turn off the water. You get soap on your hands, you lather up, you turn the water on, you wet your hair, rinse the soap off, turn the water off, shampoo your hair. And you're doing it all to really conserve water. We even have a rain catchment system on the boat so that when our awnings are up, our sunshades, they can capture water and we can drain that into the water tanks for good fresh water. So here at the house, we have a sprinkler system, and the sprinkler system comes on a couple days a week, right? And I watch when it does rain here, all the water from our gutter just sort of runs right down the gutters and right into the edge of the ground, and it's gone right in this little 3-foot section by the edge of those. And I thought there's got to be a better way to catch some of that water and disperse it. And I can remember my father-in-law having this rain bucket. It looked kind of like a whiskey barrel, but maybe about the size of a 40 or 50 gallon drum. And I can remember my father-in-law having this rain bucket. It looked kind of like a whiskey barrel, but maybe about the size of a 40 or 50 gallon drum, but it looked nice. It sort of looked like a decorative planter. And the water from the gutters came down into that, and there was a little spigot on the bottom, and he could turn that on and it would sort of flood out into his flower gardens as a way to water them. So I went and looked at those things, and they're a few $100. I thought, well, let me first make sure that this is going to sort of work for us. It's going to help allow us to use the rainwater from one side of the house to water one whole zone from our sprinkler system. So I'm going to turn that sprinkler system zone off. I'm going to use the captured water to continue to water that section and see how well that works. So I went on my favorite import from China site. Things are dirt cheap. So I bought one of these large, I think this one might be 40 gallons or 45 gallons. It's sort of a portable rain catchment system. I think it was about 26 bucks. So obviously you get what you pay for, but I just need to see if it's going to work. And if it is, then I'll decide whether I want to make the investment for the amount of money it has for a nice looking one. The good news for us is this sits right behind a bunch of shrubs. So the only way you'll see it is if you come through our house, out the side door of our garage, and look behind our air conditioner. Between the air conditioner and a set of bushes is where this thing will be. So to our neighbors, they won't see it, which is perfect because I don't want this thing to look tacky. So let's start out and check out what's in here. All right, let's start with our poles, which are plastic. So it puts it in perspective right there. Let's see if somewhere in here we have some instructions. Oh. It appears I have everything that I'm supposed to have in my package, which is good. Alright, it says to put that big spigot into the bottom hole of the barrel, so I'm assuming this must be the top. Rotate it around and look for an opening here. I see one. Alright, I believe now just going to be a matter of putting this through here. I'm just going to tighten this up as much as I can. Other one I need to put near the top of it. Looking for an opening there. There it is. I'm doing something very similar here. This may be another way to maybe fill it from an external source, I guess. Okay, it says to now insert the frame legs. Let's see how well those work. It's to insert them on the bottom, so I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to put the narrower end. There seems to be a narrow and a thicker end, so I'm assuming this is a leg. kind of see this mesh part on the top here. And the idea is you can just take your rain gutter and adjust it to go right into that. That way it keeps leaves and debris from going in there, but can certainly fill this up. I'm going to set it outside and fill it up with water and see how well it kind of holds up to itself.
Well, here we go. I've moved it outside, and I have this little platform here already, so I'm just setting it up right here and running the garden hose into it. I'll probably end up setting it up right underneath this gutter here. I'll end up building a little platform and cutting the gutter to the right height, assuming this all works pretty well. But I'm able to use the hose as a great way to test it. You can see I have the top unzipped in that first part. I've now zipped it up, and I just have the water running on the top of it, so to see how well it goes down into the screen and how well it holds its shape. To my surprise, it's actually holding the shape really well, and ideally this will be a perfect little platform for me to test out and see if I can then use the water that's stored here to run through a small set of little soaker hoses into this garden along the side of the house where nobody will see it. After it was filled all the way to the top, I was kind of impressed with the way it held its shape, and you can see I just opened up the valve on the bottom and letting the water squirt out just to see how well it disperses out of there. It's working really well. I just need to now come up with a hosing system and bubblers at each shrub. So I think overall this rain catchment system is going to work pretty good. If basically it collects my water and then allows me to disperse water across the garden for 2 or so days after the rain, I think it's going to be a great way to disperse it evenly to the bushes, and it'll save me from having to turn that zone on at all in the sprinkler system. So if this works well, I think I might put one at each corner of the house, catch rainwater, and disperse it out. The biggest thing I have to figure out, it'll take some time before I understand exactly how this works, is there a better way to do this? For example, can I set the spigot to stay closed and the overflow to automatically just slowly feed out to the plants, so that if it were to rain today, let's say it rains on a Monday, it would sort of slowly water out through Tuesday or Wednesday, and then if it doesn't rain for another week, I can go out and just manually turn on the spigot valve at the bottom where it still has all the water inside of the rain catchment and let it do the same thing for a couple days. So I think it's going to work pretty well. So you'll appreciate this. One day while I was working, I decided to just go outside in the morning and bait up a hook and throw it out into the water. Complete lazy man's fishing. Fishing on the bottom, laid the rod in a little rod holder, and then I came back inside and I was sitting working. My office desk sort of looks out toward the water, so I'd look up every once in a while, and if I saw the line have a little tension, I'd run out there and pull in a fish. And I ended up getting four fish kind of throughout the day, half paying attention. So I'd call Chastity, and she'd take a break from her schoolwork and go out and pull it in. So I got a little bit of footage of some of the fish we caught. While I'm working, or even while I'm maybe cooking something on the grill, I'll come outside and do a little bit of fishing. And you can see here, I went ahead and threw the line out and fished on the bottom, and ended up pulling up this decent little catfish, about 10 inches. We'll leave that out there, see what we get. Nice, another catfish. Yeah, decent size. Hold still, buddy, you'll get right off of there. There you go. Now tip it and get it off. You gotta get it all the way around the boat. So aim it that way as you pull him in. Try not to let him get too close to the boat. If he starts swimming toward the boat, pull him back the other way. What do you think? I think it's probably a catfish. All right, that's a pretty good size one right there. Ooh, he's gut hooked though, darn it. Boy, that's a big one right there. Huh. No, I don't think so. That was a good sized catfish. If I was willing to eat food out of here, that probably wouldn't have been a bad one. That's high enough. Let me grab him. Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's video with the theme of boat projects without a boat. I know it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but certainly these things have a little bit of compatibility with boat projects. So our rain catchment system, absolutely. We have one on DreamChaser. We love it. We leverage it. We use it, especially when out at anchor. And we thought it had some real practical applications at the house as well for different reasons, but still a benefit. Fishing, check. We certainly fish when we're on the boat from time to time, and now that we're here on terra firma, I love the fact that we can just walk out in the backyard and toss a line out there. Wallpaper in the bathroom, a little different certainly than what we did on the boat, but what's interesting is in DreamChaser's owner stateroom head, we did put up artificial tile. So think of it like a PVC tile that was stick-on, and we did that primarily because it had very much a tile look without all the weight of tile. And frankly, with the shifting around the boat was going to do, especially one over 40 years old, we were a little bit worried that if we did use mortar, in addition to just the pure weight impact of that we might potentially have that mortar crack and tiles fall off. And I didn't want to go through all that work and effort and have it not work. So yeah, wallpaper at home, stick-on tile in the boat, check. The last one, by no means does trimming the bushes apply to the boat. But I will tell you, here at the house, I am so glad to get rid of all of these sort of thorny, sticky bushes. Between holly bushes running the length of the house, which, if you're not familiar with it, holly leaves, like you see at Christmas, they have these little points on them, and we're always barefoot outside. It never fails. You end up with one stuck in the bottom of your foot. You're hopping around on one foot, picking the leaf out from the bottom of your other foot. And that and these damn bougainvillea plants, I will be so glad to get rid of these suckers. They have thorns on them. They're huge. I grew up in Texas, and it reminds me a little bit of the thorns you see on mesquite trees. They're brutal. I have stepped on them with my shoe and had them go all the way through the sole of a soft, boat shoe and right up into the bottom of my foot. And every time I go to deal with these things, it looks like I got into a cage and had a fight with a panther and lost. So I will be so glad when every one of these suckers are pulled right the hell out of the yard. We're close. We're down to just a few more. Well, I didn't film all of this. Deb basically pruned some of these down, and then she noticed the ground was pretty good and wet after a heavy rain, so she started sticking the shovel in there, and I grabbed some gloves, and we started just pulling the thing out of there. And while I was pulling, she was popping the shovel down underneath the roots, and we pulled a good 3-4 feet of roots out of each of these things. So good riddance, bougainvilleas. Anyway, hope you did enjoy this week's video, and please do join us for the next one when we get back to a little bit more boat projects. If you enjoyed this video, or you enjoy what we tend to have, you'll see some links at the very end of this video for what our normal content is. Every Friday, we try to put out a DIY boat refit video or cruising and living aboard a classic sailboat. That's our typical content on Fridays. And we started doing a video every Tuesday now that we've been in the house on using a smoker pellet grill combo. And that's been a lot of fun. We've been doing all kinds of different meats and vegetables and just having a blast playing around with that. Something that we haven't been able to do for 8 years on the boat with our little 9x12 grill that was perfect for cooking up fresh catch fish or meat you buy locally. But certainly you couldn't do all the things you can do with this big old Pit Boss pellet smoker. So thank you everybody for watching. If you do enjoy this content, please click on that little subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner. And yeah, love to have you do that. And we will see you either Tuesday on the grilling videos or next Friday. Safe sailing, y'all. Bye now. Be safe.